Cool. All right, everyone. My name is Nestor. This is Kings of Redemption, and we're going to be reading some testimonials from real people on Reddit. The first thing that comes up is this right here. This person says, I stopped caring about things I can't control and put all my energy into the things I can. It sounds hard, but there's actually a lot you can control, and that doesn't leave much room for the other shit. And this is honestly a belief system that if you can actually enforce it, understand it, you will better your life. Is stop caring about things. That's the first. I stopped caring about things I can control. So one thing is social media. Okay, MySpace was the oldest thing that I remember. Facebook came out, and then other messenger apps like Kik came out. Social media has just amplified the amount of things that people care about. It's the way things have progressed. But if people stopped caring about what other people posted, what other people have, comparing themselves to those people, if they just stopped caring about things that they can control.
How much
Okay,
is that
I
watch,
saw a
man? I gotta
video
ask,
of
man.
Money
Oh,
Mayweather.
that's
18 million?
18 million? Oh, you know.
You know, you do an interview with this and you realize your life ain't going as good as you thought
Yeah.
it was. I'm sitting over here with my little $40,000 joint on. He 18 million. That do look like a chandelier though.
I got guys I work with every day. You know, just yesterday I made 10 million. But, businessman, I dreamed it, I wrote it down, I believed it. I surrounded myself with the right people. But the main thing is, you can't think you know it all. I surround myself with people that got it right here. You have to have it right here. Have to. Have to.
I mean, whatever you want to say, right? But that's not your money. You cannot control what Mayweather does with this money. Okay, it's one thing you can do to just say, hey, I got to focus on this other stuff. And once you do start focusing on this other stuff, you start realizing that I don't even care about it. At some point, you start focusing on yourself and you don't even care about what's going on in other people's lives. This is another person. They say, I got injured in a car accident, rear ended, lost my business and my wife of 19 years, eventually left for another man, leaving behind a 17-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. No job, no car, no money, two kids, and a $2,000 a month in rent coming due. 2 days after she left, I took my real estate license test. I passed. I had a plan to surprise her, but I hid that I was studying in case I failed. Either way, it was enough, and I ended up taking a job at Amazon. I worked the graveyard shift while my daughter stayed home with my son. I also did open houses on the weekend and hoped someone would walk in unrepresented. It still wasn't enough, so I signed up to drive Uber and Lyft. I had been able to pick up a decent vehicle from a family member for cheap, and I was in business. I switched my graveyard shift to a day shift and started driving through the nights. He was working almost 24/7, man. The money was all right, but I realized I could make a little bit more if I switched from Amazon to another large company in the area. So I did. I did that for about a year. Things were okay. I was making good money, and then Caldwell Banker fired me. I didn't think they would fire me as long as they were paying their dues. I had never sold a house, so all it meant was I needed to switch to another broker. Turns out it was a blessing in disguise. So remember, people, things can turn out bad, and that bad can lead to something great. A friend called me on my way to sign with Keller Williams and convinced me to sign up with a temp agency. I was skeptical, but what did I have to lose? The first and second day I was placed with Toll Brothers, it was all right, and I could see myself doing that. On the third day, I was sent to a local developer, and my world was changed. Your life can change in 3 days. The broker of record and the local developer took me under their wing. After a few months, they hired me away from my temp broker, gave me a salary and commission, and provided me with an opportunity to change my kids' lives forever. I love, I love how he says an opportunity to change my kids' lives forever. He's not even thinking about himself. This whole entire time, he's thinking about his kids. I was able to go from working 4 jobs to just one, and I have learned more about myself than I ever could have imagined possible. It's been 3.5 long years, but I wouldn't change a thing if I could. Listen, people go through hard in life. People find redemption. People find a way because they don't give up. This man was working 4 jobs. He could have gave up at any fucking moment and said, "This job ain't for me. I hate this job. I don't want to do this anymore." He was working 4 jobs, and finally, when he was able to get this opportunity, he took it, and it was a blessing in disguise, man. It's been 3.5 long years, but I wouldn't change a thing if I could. That is a blessing, man. That is exactly what people say once they achieve that sort of goal that they had. And his goal was providing for his family, and he was able to do that. And he wouldn't change a damn thing because he's successful. He's able to now. And honestly, who knows how things would have turned out if anything else had changed. If he had changed anything else in that whole entire course. So that's amazing, man. And I've seen so many stories like this too. A nasty divorce, man, can leave a man broken. No kids too, man. He was lucky to have his kids. I've seen people with no kids, they lose it all, man. Reading more and using social media less. I'm almost at the point where I can just delete Reddit almost. Reddit can be a good support system. Just don't argue in useless threads. That's the biggest trap in toxic social media. We're gonna move on to another testimonial. This is this is a former gang members of Reddit. What was your last straw that made you say, "Holy shit, this life is not for me"? So, my principal in high school was in a gang growing up. He wanted to leave so he could go to college and be in track. They stabbed him and tried to kill him. He survived, went to college, trained for the Olympics, and didn't make it. But he became a principal and would legit chase kids down that were trying to run into the cane fields to get and bring them back to class. He also wouldn't tell their parents and instead would try to understand the kids. I loved them. It was the funniest watching one of two kids sprinting in the cane fields and watching our principal full track sprint after them watching them. He'd bring them pissed off back out of the fields. He also would walk around with a megaphone once the class bell would ring, saying things like, "Get your butt to class, stop kissing each other, and go to study. Let's go, people, we don't have all day. I miss you, Mr. Jones." Yeah, so here's the thing about and I met a few people in my life who were gang members, much older, and they were complete strangers, but they were nice enough to talk with me and share their life story with me. And it's amazing because a lot of these gang members, what they really want is they just want to spread their message, their love, and just hope to prevent anyone else to involve themselves in a gang. That's every time I've spoken to someone like that, that's their goal. That's what they want. I love how people who have been through so much, they help people not even starting or get involved in that stuff. I realized I needed to rethink my life after an interrupted robbery. I was left by those I called friends so I could take the heat for getting caught. That was when I realized that they weren't my friends at all. However, it really sunk into my heart when the guy who I was stealing from, who knew me, watched me grow up, and knew what a loser I was, pled with the judge for a light sentence and told them I was a good kid at heart and needed a chance to choose the right path. This guy I was trying to rob was a better friend to me than the jokers I considered my closest friends for the last 10 years. I was lucky because I was mostly a posing wannabe gangster. I'm glad I didn't go any further. It was a dark path. The man you were stealing from sounds like a good man. He's one of the greatest. I'm beyond blessed to have known him. I'm sure he's the reason I got a light sentence, and I'll forever be in debt to him and his family for their generous spirit. Another guy says, I wish I could steal a thought from that man. This guy says, shows that being a good man and showing compassion can change somebody's life. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to like gang life and all that stuff. Pay it forward when you can. Exactly. Yes. And this guy says, absolutely. I do my best to become more like that man, and striving to paying it forward is the best way I know how. But another person says, if you're willing to share, are you still friends with the person you tried to rob? Also, great story. Thanks for sharing. And the guy says, I am. That man was part of the youth ministry in the church I grew up in, and I give him a hug and weep with gratitude every time I visit him and his family. That man's compassion for me has made such a difference in my life. And then another person says, have you ever thanked him and told him what he said affected you? I'm sure he'd appreciate it if you haven't. And he says, I have. Every time I see him when I'm visiting my parents' town, He's part of my family, and I wouldn't be the man I am today without his love and patience for me. This person right here, he actually lived a life. He went through something that a lot of people go through, especially in their young age. In your young age, you have this group of friends that you think they're your friends, but when shit gets tough, they look out for themselves. They don't care about you. They will sacrifice you if it meant saving themselves. Those people are not your friends. You got to get away from them, man, because they're going to use you. You're degrading yourself being around those people. You're converting yourself into those people. He says, I was lucky. I was mostly a posing wannabe gangster. I'm glad I didn't go any further. It was a dark path. You know what happens in gangs? You go from wannabe to killer, like that. And that's something that so many people go through. And it is a dark path. It's a dark path because you're taking someone's life for what? For initiation, for a gang of people who are not related to you, who act like a family, but they're not family, they're not friends, you know? And and I'm gonna share a story. This ain't on Reddit. I'm gonna share a story that it's a personal story of one of the gang members I've met in my life randomly, right? This guy, he went to jail. He went to jail for murder. He I think he served 20 years, and then he was able to get a parole hearing, and he was actually granted it. And so what happened was throughout those 20 years, it was rough. In the very beginning, it was very rough for him. He was getting into fights. He was doing bad shit still, and it wasn't until years passed by that he found redemption in God. Okay, true story. This is true story. He had a pastor come to him. He said, "Hey, you got to change your life around," and he was committed, and he is committed. And so 20 years passed by. This guy, from a gang member to someone that believes, someone that gives his entire like mind, body, and soul devoted to God. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, God, Jesus, religion, they don't like that stuff." I get it. I get it. But so many people devote themselves to idols like Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, this, the Apple guy, and, and all it is just devotion. It's just a mindset. And if your mindset is on God, listen, if it's God, it's good. Okay? And it doesn't matter, what God. You could be a Hindu God, it could be Allah, Jehovah. Your religion is your religion. Your mind, body, and soul is your mind, body, and soul. Okay? So if you want to be devoted to something, I mean, devote something to good. Devote yourself to something good. If you're gonna devote yourself to anything, do it for good. And a lot of people change their life because of religion. Doesn't matter which religion. People change their lives, man. All right, everybody, that's going to be the wrap up for today's video on our testimonials. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you stuck around up to the very end, let me know what down below was your favorite part of the video. What was your favorite testimonial? Did anything relate to you? Is there a fire lit up under your ass right now? Comment down below, let me know, and stay tuned.